space. The final frontier. These are the voyages of the One Love Enterprise. Its continuing mission, to explore strange new bullshit. To seek out new lies and abominations. To boldly go where, unfortunately, we've all been before.
Great shot, kid. That was 1 in a million.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
According to his story, the first time the concept of an off-world habitat appears in literature, is in the 1800s. There are legions of researchers who believe that man's endeavors in space have remained fanciful and nefarious works of pure fiction ever since. On the other side of the galaxy, reside armies of space junkies, astro experts and scientists who strongly beg to differ. It would take several light years, the patience of a saint, and more editing power than I'll ever own, to present a film that documents it all. So, thank you for joining us for this modest, whiz through a wormhole watch party. I don't know about you, but, space is a place, that puts a big fat smile, on my face.
The Brick Moon is a novella by American writer, child prodigy, historian, anti-slavery advocate and Unitarian minister, Edward Everett Hale. Hale was born in 1822, in Boston, Massachusetts, the son of Nathan Hale, proprietor and editor of the Boston Daily Advertiser, and Sarah Preston Everett. He was the brother of author, Lucretia Peabody Hale, author and artist Susan Hale, and the diplomat, Charles Hale. A nephew of Edward Everett, the orator and statesman, and grandnephew of Nathan Hale, the Revolutionary War hero executed by the British for espionage. Edward Everett Hale was also a descendant of Richard Everett and related to Helen Keller. A work of speculative fiction, The Brick Moon is believed to be the first known depiction of an artificial space satellite to be found in literature. The Brick Moon was first released serially, in 3 parts, in the Atlantic Monthly from October to December 1869. A 4th story, entitled, Life on the Brick Moon, was published in the same magazine in 1870, and collected as the title work in Hale's anthology, The Brick Moon and Other Stories in 1899. The moon they planned, would be a rough sphere 200 feet in diameter. It would be constructed of brick so as to stand up to the heat of air friction resulting from its ascent through the atmosphere. The interior of the brick moon is not solid brick, but rather a hollow space through which smaller hollow brick spheres are arrayed and interconnected. This structure is meant to provide maximum support with minimal added weight. There are a total 13 moonlets clustered within the moon. To achieve orbit, the moon is situated to roll down a slope towards a pair of massive water-powered flywheels storing energy over months and months. When it contacts the edges of both flywheels at once, it is shot upwards into space.
Yeah, okay, I'm digging the Brick Moon. But, I reckon Darth Vader, and the dark side plagiarized the idea for a certain Death Star. In it.
We're on our way. Red Group, go!
That's no moon. It's a space station.
Considered the father of spaceflight, and the first person to conceive the space elevator, Konstantin Tsiolkovsky was born in Russia, in 1857. The official narrative tells us that as a deaf, reclusive, homeschooled child, he passed much of his time reading mathematics and physics. As a teenager, he contemplated the possibility of space travel. He wrote more than 400 works, including approximately 90 published pieces about space and related subjects. Among his works are, designs for rockets with steering thrusters, multi-stage boosters, space stations, airlocks, and closed-cycle biological systems to provide food and oxygen for space colonies. A rotating wheel space station, also known as a von Braun wheel, is a concept for a hypothetical wheel-shaped space station. Originally proposed by Konstantin Tsiolkovsky in 1903, the idea was expanded by Hermann Potočnik in 1929. An iconic space programming device of popular culture ever since, rotating wheel off-world habitats appear in films and series such as Kubrick's 2001, Space Odyssey, Anderson's Thunderbirds and many more. The first film depicting manned spaceflight was released in 1902. Le Voyage dans la Lune is a French adventure short film directed by Georges Méliès. The film follows a group of astronomers who travel to the moon and return to Earth with a captive lunar inhabitant called a selenite. Its ensemble cast of French theatrical performers is led by Méliès himself as the main character, Professor Barbenfouilles.
Monopoly 21, checkers and chess. Yeah. Mr. Fred Lassie in a breakfast mess. Yeah. Let's play Twister, let's play Risk. Yeah. I'll see you in heaven if you make the list. Yeah. Now Andy, did you hear about this one? Tell me, are you locked in the punch? Andy, are you goofing on Elvis too, baby? Are we losing touch? If you believe they put a man on the moon, man on the moon. If you believe there's nothing up their sleeve, and nothing is cool. Moses went walking with the staff of wood. Yeah. Newton got mean by the apple. Egypt was troubled by the horrible asp. Yeah. Mr. Charles Darwin had the golden mask. Yeah. Now, Andy, did you hear about this one? Tell me, are you locked in the punch? Hey, Andy, are you goofing on Elvis? Hey, baby, are you having fun? If you believe they put a man on the moon, man on the moon. If you believe there's nothing up their sleeve, and nothing is cool. Here's a little edge for the never believer. Yeah. Here's a little ghost for the offering. Yeah. Here's a truck stop instead of St. Peter's. Yeah. Mr. Andy Kaufman's gone wrestling. Yeah. Now, Andy, did you hear about this one? Tell me, are you locked in the punch? Hey, Andy, are you goofing on Elvis? Hey, baby, are we losing touch? If you believe they put a man on the moon, to Fred Lassie in a breakfast mess. Yeah, 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 yeah. Let's play Twister.
July 17, 1929. Robert Goddard launches a rocket that carries with it the first set of scientific tools, a barometer and a camera, in Auburn, Massachusetts. February 18, 1930. The dwarf planet Pluto is discovered by American astronomer Clyde Tombaugh at Lowell Observatory in Flagstaff, Arizona. September 29, 1945. Werner von Braun arrives at Fort Bliss, Texas, with 6 other German rocket specialists. September 29, 1947. American test pilot Chuck Yeager breaks the sound barrier for the first time in the X-1, also known as Glamorous Glennis. October 4, 1957. A modified A-72 stage ICBM launches the satellite Sputnik 1 from Tyuratin. The space race between the Soviet Union and the United States begins. November 3, 1957. The Soviet Union launches Sputnik 2 with the first living passenger, Laika the dog aboard. October 7, 1958. Administrator T. Keith Glennon announces NASA's manned spaceflight program, and the formation of the Space Task Group, just 6 days after NASA is founded. January 2, 1959. The USSR launches Luna 1, which misses the Moon, but becomes the first artificial object to leave Earth orbit. May 28, 1959. The United States launches the first primates in space, Abel and Baker, on a suborbital flight. August 7, 1959. NASA's Explorer 6 launches and provides the first satellite photographs of the Earth from space. October 24, 1960. Rushing to launch a Mars probe before the anniversary of the Bolshevik Revolution, 126 people are killed when the R-16 ICBM explodes at the Baikonur Cosmodrome during launch preparations. April 12, 1961. Yuri Gagarin becomes the first man in space, with a 108-minute flight on Vostok 1, in which he completed 1 orbit. May 5, 1961. Mercury Freedom 7 launches on a Redstone rocket for a 15-minute suborbital flight, making Alan Shepard the first American in space.
Alan Shepard was probably Class 1 astronaut.
He was bright.
Family was important to him.
He was really a wonderful human being. He was a proud man, sometimes arrogant, but test pilots are always that way. You want them to be that way.
It's a first step we had to make, and he did it well.
When you talk about the right stuff, he was the epitome of the right stuff.
Smells they consummate my home. Beyond the black horizon, trying to take control. See my girl, she shivers in her bones. The sun in zenith rising, trying to take us all. There's a fire between us, so where is your God? There's a fire between us. I can't get off the carousel. I can't get off the carousel. I can't get off the carousel. I can't get off this world. The sickening taste of the public jokes, images of fascist votes. Beat me up 'cause I can't breathe. Spaceman, I always wanted you to go into spaceman. It's time to terminate the great wide world. Morbid fascinations, television takes control. Decimation, different races fall. Electronic information tampers with your soul. There's a fire between us, so where is your God? There's a fire between us. I can't get off the carousel. I can't fall off this world. The sickening taste of the velvet jokes, images of fascist votes. Beat me up 'cause I can't breathe. Spaceman, I always wanted you to go into spaceman. Intergalactic crimes. Spaceman, I always wanted you to go into spaceman. Intergalactic
May 25, 1961. In a speech before Congress, President John Kennedy announces that an American will land on the moon and be returned safely to Earth before the end of the decade.
The dramatic achievements in space which occurred in recent weeks should have made clear to us all, as did the Sputnik in 1957, the impact of this adventure on the minds of men everywhere who are attempting to make a determination of which road they should take. Since early in my term, our efforts in space have been under review. With the advice of the Vice President, who is Chairman of the National Space Council, we have examined where we are strong and where we are not, where we may succeed and where we may not. Now it is time to take longer strides, time for a great new American enterprise, time for this nation to take a clearly leading role in space achievement, which in many ways may hold the key to our future on Earth. I believe we possess all the resources and talents necessary, but the facts of the matter are that we have never made the national decisions or marshaled the national resources required for such leadership. We have never specified long-range goals on an urgent time schedule or managed our resources and our time so as to ensure their fulfillment. I therefore ask the Congress, above and beyond the increases I have earlier requested for space activities, to provide the funds which are needed to meet the following national goals. First, I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth. No single space project in this period will be more impressive to mankind or more important for the long-range exploration of space, and none will be so difficult or expensive to accomplish.
July 10, 1962. The United States launches Telstar 1, which enables the transatlantic transmission of television signals. July 10, 1962. Mariner 2 launches, and eventually, performs the first successful interplanetary flyby when it passes Venus. September 29, 1962. Canada's Alouette 1 launches aboard a NASA Thor Agena B rocket, becoming the first satellite from a country other than the United States or Soviet Union. June 16, 1963. Valentina Tereshkova becomes the first woman in space, having flown a solo mission on the Vostok 6. July 28, 1964. Ranger 7 launches, and is the Ranger series' first success, taking photographs of the moon until it crashes into its surface 4 days later. March 18, 1965. Soviet cosmonaut Alexei Leonov makes the first spacewalk from the Voskid 2 orbiter. June 3, 1965. During the Gemini 4 mission, Ed White becomes the first American to walk in space. February 3, 1966. The unmanned Soviet spacecraft, Luna 9, makes the first soft landing on the moon. June 2, 1966. Surveyor 1, a lunar lander, performs the first successful U.S. soft landing on the moon. January 27, 1967. All 3 astronauts, for NASA's Apollo 1 mission, suffocate from smoke inhalation iron in a cabin fire during a launch pad test. April 23, 1967. Soyuz 1 launches, but myriad problems surface, causing the death of Soviet cosmonaut Vladimir Komarov.
A Space Odyssey is a 1968 epic science fiction film, produced and directed by Stanley Kubrick. Written by Kubrick and science fiction author Arthur C. Clarke, the screenplay was inspired by Clarke's 1951 short story, The Sentinel, and Other Tales. It's a genius piece of work. With this standard of CGI at a director's disposal in 1968, I'm surprised Kubrick's creations for NASA weren't more realistic.
The movie is split into 4 acts. The first follows the dawn of mankind as a group of apes discovers a mysterious monolith placed at their camp. They soon realize the power of tools, which suggests the monolith had something to do with their evolution. But then, in one of the most iconic cuts in cinema history, a bone flying through the air transitions to a space station floating in orbit.
Lord.
Dave, do you mind if I ask you a personal question?
No, not at all.
I've wondered whether you might be having some second thoughts about the mission.
How do you mean?
Rumors about something being dug up on the moon. I never gave these stories much credence, but particularly in view of some of the other things that have happened, I find them difficult to put out of my mind.
Open the pod bay doors, please, Hal.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What are you talking about, Hal?
This conversation can serve no purpose anymore. Goodbye.
Space, the boundary of human achievement, the new frontier.
It's just a cough.
Yeah, right. And the Earth is flat.